G'day humans, Chris Stead here. Today I'm reviewing the Lenovo Legion 7i Gen 9. Now, if you're familiar with the laptop scene, then Lenovo is a brand you'll definitely know. In fact, Lenovo is the biggest selling laptop manufacturer in the world. Now, the Legion sub-brand in Lenovo is their gaming laptop range. So if you see the word Legion anywhere in the name, that means they're referring to their gaming laptops. But in the modern world, that makes it pretty awesome for content creators as well. So with the Gen 9, so it's the 2024 edition, the Generation 9 of the Lenovo Legion 7i, Lenovo is hoping to tackle three big things, right? Weight, battery life, and heat, while still retaining great gaming power. So does it achieve those goals? Well, let's dive into my Lenovo Legion 7i review, and we're going to start with the price. Now, these things, they cost a pretty penny, I'm telling you. So here in Australia, the base model, entry point level for the Lenovo Legion 7i is going to be $4,399. That's Australian dollars. So big investment, all right? And that's just for the base model. Now, from there it goes up a fair bit. It can get real expensive, like into the 6,000s and so forth, depending on how much you add. There's also a pro range to this as well. What I've found looking around at the prices is that you can get some of the ones that are slightly spec'd up, like a little bit more RAM, a little bit more storage space, maybe processor steps up from the i7 to the i9, and you can get those closer to the 5 gram mark, but then they seem to be the ones that get the sales. So the base model stays the base model, and these kind of slightly upper ones actually get the sales and come back down. So it's definitely worth having a look and a shop around to see whether or not you can actually get one that's slightly up from the base model for the price of the base model or close to. That's definitely what I'd be looking to do anyway. Now, in terms of just generally comparing laptops across the different manufacturers, it's really hard to do. There's so much customization, up-speccing, and so forth across this huge range of laptops which are available. It's really hard to do a comparison. I will say that in general, I feel like Lenovo is probably on the upper end of what you'll be paying for a laptop or a gaming laptop. In general, they also do quality devices, so you could argue potentially there's a reason for that, but we'll go into that a little bit more. This model here, the one in front of me, is the review unit that was supplied by Lenovo to me, and as is the way pretty much with all of the laptops I ever get sent to review, it's spec'd out of its brains. I'll go through the base model specs in a second, but this one really pushes it up. So like instead of being 16 gigs of RAM, this is 32 gigs of RAM. Instead of being an 8 gigabyte RTX 4070, this is a 24 gigabyte RTX 4070. So it's got the i9 in it as well, not the i7. So a few things like that. So that's just something to keep in mind over the course of this review, is that this is like the highest of high ends really of what you're going to get out of the Legion 7i sub brand of all the Lenovo laptops that are out there. Anyway, let's go in and just look at what you're going to get. What are the specs here? So it's got the 14 gen Intel Core HX series processor in it, and it starts with the i7 as I said, but you can upgrade to the i9. There's an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070 graphics card, starting at 8 gigabytes. Obviously you can go up from there, and 16 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM at the entry point, upgradable to 32. You got a 512 gigabyte M2 PCIe Gen 4 SSD, upgradable to 1 terabyte. Depending on, obviously when you go through the purchase process, you can upgrade these and find a price that's right for you. So the screen is the same across the lot of them though. That's a 16-inch pure sight gaming display at 3.2K resolution, so that's 3200 by 200 pixels with 100% DCI-P3 color gamut. It's a 16:10 aspect ratio, so that's slightly bigger screen. We're kind of seeing a fair bit of that around at the moment. It's up to 240 Hertz refresh rate with VRR support, so variable refresh rate support, so that's a big win. Great for gamers, like perfect for gamers. You'd have to have it in a gaming laptop if you were trying to sell one anyway. 430 nits of brightness, so not spectacularly bright if you compare it to say TVs or something like that, but still that's better than average. Legion True Strike keyboard with 1.5mm key travel. It's lovely backlight on it as well actually. It's got the Lenovo, new this year is the Lenovo AI Engine Plus. So obviously AI is all the rage. So this is supposed to help with battery life, but we'll touch on that in a second. And other bits and pieces. Copilot is a button on this particular model, like most of the ones coming out post-June 2024. It's got the new cold front hyperchamber technology inside of it, which is significantly quieter and more efficient. And I've got a whole video that deep dives into that, like 20-minute deep dive in with one of the main guys at Lenovo, talking through all of how that technology works. So I'll link that in the description. If you want to go and dive in and learn all about that, you should. It's very interesting. So the battery is a 99.99 watt hour battery, which Lenovo's claiming is like as good as you can get in a laptop. But again, more on that in a sec. There's a fingerprint reader, 1080p camera with dual mics, Wi-Fi 6E support, Bluetooth 5.1 support, and a 1-year warranty. So just the 1 year on the warranty. So let's jump in and have a look at the design of the Legion 7i. And I really like the look of this laptop. It's sleek and it's modern and sexy and looks powerful as well. It's kind of like got the cut like you might see on a Lamborghini or something like that, a little bit boxy, but still really rad. You can see these nice little dents here when the hinge opens at the back as well. You get this kind of space through the hinge here. It's a very, very strong hinge as well, like really sturdy. I love the way that the camera has this kind of tab. So the camera, the way the camera sits, I realize it's gonna shine lights like crazy off the reflection, but this little tab here as well, so you can just kind of grab it and pull it up. I really like that. As the Legion branding's really boss and pretty cool as well. I just think it's a good looking, and I actually really like it in white as well. I think the white is actually pretty sharp. Look, it's heavy, but not too bad. Like gaming laptops are heavy, they're always bloody heavy. But this, I don't think it's too bad. And it's got a nice metal finish on the bottom as well. But yeah, the weight, it's not too bad. It does have a huge power block with it, a huge kind of cable. It weighs a ton, like it really makes it unwieldy, but thankfully you can just charge by USB-C, which means you can just have that sitting at home. If you want to take this to work, you can just take it to work and plug it into USB-C when you get there. So that's cool. I also really like the design of having the power port, which is this one here, in the back of the machine. Just keeps it from being in the sides. It just shoots out the back, runs down the back of your desk, wherever it happens to go. I really like that that's out of the way. Same with the HDMI port, which is also on the back here, so that can just run up into your monitor or whatever if you want to dual screen it without too many hassles. Over here, you've got your display port option over here on your, and this is gonna, so again to another monitor. But also you'll notice that on the left-hand side, there's just this one port here really that's going to get in your way with a mouse, assuming you're right-handed, of course. This is a card port here. There is a USB-C here, but you've also got the two USB-Cs here, including your main Thunderbolt 4 and your PD port. They're all over here. So that's going to mean that most of your cabling is going to come in on that side. So if you're left-handed, that's a bit more of a bummer, but for the vast majority of people who are right-handed, the ports are on the right side where we like to see them anyway. Now, with the keyboard, I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's got this beautiful little backlight that goes on. It looks amazing in the dark. And you've also got that kind of 1.5 millimeter quick touch, good for gaming, but it is loud. Which may cause dramas in some offices. If you wanted to use this, if you wanted to double this as your work machine as well as your gaming machine at home, that loud typing, and I've done this to many people before and got many complaints, just thumping the keys away, punching out articles, and yeah, so these are really quite loud keys. You really notice that you're hitting them. But you know, gaming nowadays, like I just synced my Xbox Series X controller to this and did most of my gaming with that nowadays. Now, one of the things I don't like about the design is over here, and hopefully you can see that without getting a reflection off the screen. But see how they've got the touchpad and it's under the spacebar, directly under the spacebar. Okay, now I like that. That's what I want to see. It sucks when it's kind of off center. I've had laptop reviews before where this is kind of set over here and your palm kind of ends up resting on a touchpad and it's uncomfortable and it's a bit awkward. But the problem with this layout is that because it's so edge to edge with the keyboard, your other hand, when you're typing, this hand is half off the device. It sits kind of like over here somewhere. Or if you're using the WASDs, for example, in a game, if you're gaming on here, a bit old school, mouse over here, your fingers over here, it's a really uncomfortable position for it to kind of sit half off the board, half on the board. And I don't really know what they could do about it other than like just rethinking the whole entire layout of the numbers here. So potentially instead of having your numbers like this, you just run them down further here and be able to just create more landing space over there. I don't know, but I definitely noticed consistently how uncomfortable it was just having the palm of my hand sitting right on the edge there. And also the touchpad has I'm not too fond of the touchpad. The click part of it, which is this corner here, is really precise with where it wants you to touch. And it's an awkward distance for your thumb. And the number of times I've just been tapping away going, why can't I, right click on this? Why can't I, and the reason is because my thumb just won't get the right spot. So it's very precise. So that's something that I'm sure I would adapt to over time. But in terms of kind of like the design and the way the design actually also then works with your hand positioning and where you're sitting, that's a bit of a pain for me. All right, so on to performance, obviously the most important thing. And look, pros and cons with the performance. So the positives is that the games play great. I went through, I've played Dead Space, the remake, Rise of the Tomb Raider, some Forza Horizon, Project Cars, what else did I end up playing? Horizon, Forbidden West. So just a bunch of different games, try to get that kind of like Dead Space was a really good one because it's got those, it's really dark, but it's also got so much bright colors in it and everything like that, and sparks and the gunfire and everything going off like that. So the games looked great, run great as well, at least on this super spec'd up version of the 7i, but I had everything, I deliberately turned everything up to max, like just max, ultra settings on every game just to see what happens. And yeah, it ran really well. It also sounds really good. Like they've got the Harmon audio through here. I was pretty impressed. Like obviously, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna put some headphones on anyway, but you don't need to. Like the speakers actually in this actually did a really good job. The screen's beautiful. It's large, it's bright, it's vibrant, it's got good contrast. So the experience of not just playing games, but also watching multimedia was fantastic. And even then your creative apps, your Adobe suites, that type of thing performed really well. And just day to day, just typing and things like that. So you don't think of typing as this thing. You go, oh, I got this RTX 4070. But make no mistake, when you're on a slightly just not fresh laptop and you're typing it take it from someone who writes for a living, you can feel the computer's just not keeping up with you, and then you get on these really good machines and it's just like, it's so beautiful, it feels amazing. So that side of things, good. But, and there's a big but, the battery life. Oh man, for something where they're really trying to be working on the battery life, just doesn't come to the party. I was shocked by how quickly the battery went down on this a few times. And like even just when I first turned it on for the first time, like when they send you these review units, they come like restarted, like you got to log into Windows from scratch. It did 50% of the battery just trying to get Windows 11 like updated and going. And I was like, well, it's not a great start. And yeah, I've been shocked by how quickly it's drained the battery. Like, I don't even think I got 45 minutes max in Dead Space and it was 50% of the battery was gone. So I've seen tests online where people have like just run video and stuff like that and got like up to 6 hours. That's just not my experience. And I don't know if that's, I was wondering about this beforehand, and if you know the answer to this, please let me know in the comments. But because this is slightly spec'd up, well, it's not slightly, it's spec'd up from say your standard 7i, I wonder if that ended up having a little bit of impact on the battery and that it can do more at once. And so maybe it's just using more power, like it kind of logically makes sense, but I don't know if it actually makes sense from a hardcore inside the guts perspective. So if you know the answer to that. So that could play a little bit of a role, but either way, I just don't think you're gonna get some great battery life out of this. You might eke it out to 4 hours, maybe if you're doing like surfing the web and everything like that. Like just sitting here and prepping for this video and it just sitting there doing nothing, like literally nothing, it's been fine. It's drained like, I think 5%. So it's just that intensity of actually going and playing the games, which you're going to do on a gaming laptop, which really hits the battery hard. So I don't know if they've really got what they wanted out of the battery life with this. And it's going to be interesting what happens in the coming months and into the next year with what they're doing with Qualcomm and the Snapdragon X Elite. So anyway, battery life, a bit of an issue. Also, when you're really playing games hard, this thing does start to sound like a bit of a jet plane. There's a fair bit of audio in here and it does heat up. Like you wouldn't be sitting on your lap. Like not enough to kind of, it's not blowing heat on you. It's not blowing heat on your fans. It's not blowing heat on you. And you wouldn't even know it was really that hot until you pick it up, touch the bottom and go, ooh, okay, there's a bit going on there. Now I'm a big fan of the CloudFront hyper system that they've set up in here. Like I've seen other tests, I've been involved in other tests where it's really performed quite well. So I know the tech's good, but I just found with this particular machine, at least spec'd up like it is, it did get warm. Probably not like they all get warm. That's it's not like it's suddenly just cold because it's got this great tech and it's like no heat at all. It's not the case. You can feel it. And like I said, yeah, the fan can get really loud when you're actually like putting it under some load. Again, that's what they do, but you know, you just long for it not to. So performance-wise, like I said, pros and cons. So the experience is great, but kind of all those classic gaming laptop bottlenecks and issues that we've just had all for years now haven't been rectified by this. It's not the big hope in that regard. So as a result, where do I finish with my Lenovo Legion 7i review? The laptop sits in kind of this awkward spot because it's a beautiful laptop and the games play great and that's what it's supposed to do. But by the same token, the battery life issue is still there and it's loud both to type on and when it's at load, which makes it a little bit awkward. So you're getting this portable gaming machine, which as a result isn't awfully portable because you're only going to get a certain amount of battery out of it if you're going to use it for gaming. Obviously you do other things. It's still snappy with general Windows 11 activities, your general day-to-day work stuff, content creation. It's a snappy machine and it runs really well on all those things. So you can do all that as well. And those things are going to drain the battery less and make less sound unless you're video rendering or something like that. So it's still good in that way, but then it's kind of like almost in a bit of a no man's land as well because we're seeing this potential new horizon coming with Qualcomm and Snapdragon X Elite and what it's looking to do, not just in terms of weight and form factor, but also in terms of, and in particular with battery life. And there's potentially a future not too far from when you're seeing this video where something like this could come along and last a lot longer as a result, at least from what I've been told and seen so far. Very early days. So yes, if you're looking for a really nice, beautiful, great gaming experience that you're going to mostly have in your house with just a little bit of portability on the side, the Legion, well, Lenovo's great in general, and the Lenovo Legion 7i is solid. If you're looking for a device that's going to be more portable, that you're going to be wanting to use a lot away from a power source or use a lot on the road as much as at home, then this thing might actually struggle to meet your needs, and that's just what you need to know. Right. That's my review of the Lenovo Legion 7i Gen 9 2024 model. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you check out my other videos, including that, make sure you check out that cold front video in particular. In fact, I'll put a link to it in a second, somewhere around here. Yeah, and until next time, I'll check you later. You.